Good evening, everybody. Happy Thursday. It is go time and we are ready. Welcome to Bravo with Sheila. I am your Thursday night host, Lady Dawn B, and we are glad that you popped on and joined us again tonight. And as always, we want to salute our Queen Bravo, our Queen B of Bravo, the Pastor Sheila Ingram. So come on, give up some love for her. Thanking her. That's right. That's how we give her a big bravo. Without her, we would not be here. So we thank God for her on tonight. I don't know about y'all, but I'm excited. Can you tell? I'm ready. I'm a little extra, if that's possible. We all know, right? So we salute our Pastor Sheila for yielding the captain's chair on tonight. And we are riding out for week number 3 with two of my sister girls. And I am glad they are on here with me tonight for Lady Dawn B and Friends. So we're gonna get this good conversation going. And my two good sister girls, who is week number 3, they just a part of the Bravo squad now, is our Lady T's Tidbits, Tanya Williams. Come on and give her some love. She always has a great word of inspiration and she'll get you right, get your mind rolling. That's what she does. What she does. And then we have my bestie from the back in the days. We can't even count. We stopped counting. We just know we rolling forward. What's behind don't matter. My girl, the Queen Bee, Lady Elaine Edwards. Come on, let's give her some love. How y'all doing out there? And then I want to. I'm trying to get my life right, y'all. So I apologize. I'm working on multiple devices. I'm not always able to multitask well, but we're gonna get it right tonight, right? Right. So, as always, here at Bravo, our platform is not to convince or to convict, but we are here to just engage in dialogue that creates a safe space for us to share and for us to bring understanding so that we can strengthen relationships of all kinds and mostly the relationship within ourselves. So, I hope y'all are ready for some good dialogue on tonight because tonight we entering into the ladies' room. We know that in the ladies' room things go down. You know, that's where we go to get our good self together.
Mm,
Right, ladies? Am I
mm.
right? Or is it just me? Things go down in the ladies' room, right?
Things go down in the
They
ladies'
do.
room.
They do.
That's where we go. If it's gonna go down, it's going down in the ladies' room. So on tonight, it's going down in the ladies' room. And I wanted to kind of separate us from the men. We're gonna give the men their chance to come on and have their what do they call it, the man cave time. But you know, we gonna be fair. We'll be fair. But tonight we just wanted to talk to the ladies for a little bit. And tonight in the ladies' room, we're gonna talk about 5 different points that we as ladies need, desperately need to discuss, that we need to consider, and that we need to kind of fix, or softer word for fix is work on. All right. So, y'all ready to get into it?
I'm ready.
Let's go.
All right. All right.
Let's go.
So here we go. Let's go. Let's make it do what it do. Hey, mom, we see some comments. Hi, Mama Rosa. That's my mom, y'all, by birth and by choice sometimes when I'm behaving myself. She says, good evening. Which isn't a lot of the time, y'all. It really isn't a lot of the time. I'm gonna be honest. I behave. It's the question is it's never how. It's never if you behave. It's how. That's the question. Is how.
That's
That's
the
the
truth.
proper question, especially when it comes
Yes.
to me. And then we also have Lady Navoa. They're giving us some love. Hey, Lady Navoa. And we have Miss Donna Lowry. Good evening, Donna. And I'm going to ask you, if you haven't already, to please like, subscribe, and share to the Bravo with Sheila channel so you don't miss any of the good conversations and the good knowledge that is going on this here page. We are definitely trying to grow our community, and again, if we can just change one life, we've made a difference and our job had a purpose, has been fulfilled. We just want to help people get along better with themselves and others. We all know in these days and times that's what we need. So I hope you grabbed your good snack so we can chat and let's go. So, ladies, on tonight, the first topic, and again, this is 5 subjects. I can't wait to get to 4 and 5. Those are really good to me. But there are 5 subjects that we want to touch on that we as women, I feel like we struggle with at times. Um, if we're honest, we a lot of it is that we're not honest about them and where we are in these places. And when we're not fully honest with ourselves, we cannot get the full help or the full deliverance or the full resolve that we need. So we really have to be willing to unmask and really be honest with ourselves, because until you're honest with yourself, you only giving pieces of you to other people. I'm just saying. Do y'all agree, disagree?
Yeah.
I agree.
All right, well, let's go. So, the first topic we're going to talk about today is attitude.
So you
Let
just
that
wanted
rest
to
right.
jump right in.
We jumping right in. We going straight to the vein. Straight to the vein is attitude. The reason why I kind of wanted to start it, well, they all might be a little hard, but we got to have these hard conversations. By the time we get to 4 and 5, I'm gonna make some women mad. So I'm just saying right now, I have a lifetime membership to the ladies club, so y'all can't put me out. You might put me on timeout, but I'm forever gonna be a lady. I want us women to be so healed and so well. I want us to really to get up from the spaces that we are in with ourselves and with other people. A lot of us, um, really, our attitudes play a major part in every relationship that we have. And it's not even so much until we relate to ourselves the right way, we cannot relate to others properly. And it comes across in our attitude. I have to say, today I was having some kind of special emotional day. Elaine knows. I called her because I was like, I don't even know what's happening in my life right now. And I realized my attitude was like very short, and I wasn't as chipper as I would normally be. I had a lot like on my heart, I guess, or resting on my chest, but it shifted my attitude, and I honestly didn't like it. And I just didn't know in the moment how to pull myself out of it. So, and we hear this comment a lot, and we are not, we're not talking against any race, anything. But I have to say, as Black women, we get the comment, and I know I've heard it, that we have the worst attitudes. Y'all agree? Yes. Now, have you heard that comment? Has that been said that we as women,
Definitely.
and it's like, and because we are Black women, like we're angry, we're difficult, we're stubborn, all of those things, which we may be. But there's a reason that we respond that way, or there's a reason that we walk that way. There's a reason that we are carrying ourselves that way. And people sometimes don't realize or don't acknowledge or don't want to be honest about, like, we didn't just start that way. It was something
Right.
that happened. But the question
Right.
is, do we realize it? And when we realize it, what can we do about our attitude in order to be received differently by other people? And why is it that we as women, Black women, Latino women, why do we have the biggest attitudes with each other? Anyone of y'all jump in. Tell me what you think or you feel about attitude in our women. We in the ladies' room, so it's our private conversation.
I think it depends on the age of the woman, because I don't think everyone always realizes that they are carrying an attitude. They may feel like it's a part of their personality. It's just who they are. They'll say things like, well, that's just who I am. Or if someone doesn't
Mm,
like it, that's just who I am. And so I don't think they may necessarily think it's a negative. They don't find it to be a negative necessarily.
Right.
I think about, being an educator for over 20 something years and primarily working in elementary school and some in middle school. You can see sometimes, people will label young girls, children, and say they have a bad attitude
mhm.
because of the way they're expressing themselves. So it can start from a young age, because it may be something that's being modeled and it's something that they see every day. So they don't necessarily think it's something that's negative, but the way it's coming off, it is negative. So I don't think people necessarily, and as adults, I don't think all adults necessarily realize that it's a negative situation unless someone says to them, you have a nasty, bad attitude. And even with that, sometimes women say, I don't know what they're talking about. That's who I'm. They don't like it. That's just too bad. So
Hmm. Well,
yeah.
you said something very key. You said a lot of things that were really good, but one thing that I really kind of wanted to plug out was the fact that we do make this statement because I've I've made this statement too. Well, that's just who I am.
Mhm.
And that right there is a whole attitude in itself,
Yeah.
and it's more of a defensive. We put ourselves on the defense in that moment, and I have had to learn how it may be who I am, but do I have to be that side of me at all times?
Mm.
Is it necessary for me to be like that in this moment? And obviously, something about the way I am, just the way I am, is affecting whoever it is that I'm talking to, the company that I'm with, and is that really the end result do I want that I want? What is our end goal? So if just being who you are, we all have to make adjustments, here and there. And it's not to take away from our truth or who we are, but we really have to stop and think sometimes. Are we using that statement? Well, that's just who I am to remain in our I want to say our mess or our place, our stronghold, and you want everyone else to adjust. Like you just have to get used to me because I'm not changing. And I've been there, I've said that. I've done it, I've said it. We're like, well, and in some instances it's predicated, it's valid, but in others, we really got to start thinking about, is this spot a place where I really need to respond that way? And what am I losing by not hearing out what someone else is saying? If I'm responding a certain way, okay, so how would you like for me to respond? Is it really going to, we have to let down our defenses and let down our pride, in a lot of ways. And again, I just said for my self reflection, I know when I was saying that, well, that's just why it's because I just wanted to be right. I just wanted everybody to, adjust to me. And I was like, I'm the greatest thing in Dawn's world, but Dawn's world is not the only world that exists. You know, I'm saying, so if my attitude is horrible, what do I expect? What can I expect from other people? And then we don't want, if someone else says, um, that's just the way I am, are we just so willing to accept it and roll with the punches with them and let them be who they are? No, we want them to, kind of comply and concede to us. So, we come from a selfish standpoint. I want to read this comment that my mom put up. She said, a bad attitude should never be mistaken for cuteness. Oh, all right, mom. It puts you in a category where people choose to avoid you.
Absolutely. I mean, I just did a TikTok, mainly, for educators, but it applies everywhere about listening, having a space to be able to listen. I was talking about listening to your students, creating a positive climate and culture in our classrooms as educators. So, but it's the
Mhm.
same thing. We all want someone to listen to what we have to say. So if someone's saying to you, it was the way you said that, or you seem like you have an attitude. The word is triggering for a lot of Black women. And I know that because,
Mm.
society labels Black women with a bad attitude. So we can become defensive because everyone is now saying it. We have
Right.
different, you may be in a workplace and you may really just be trying to express yourself. And then someone will use that and say, "What? Well, she got a nasty attitude," and then it's a trigger for someone.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, but we all have to we have to stop and listen and say, wait a minute now. So let me listen to what they have to say. You may not necessarily even agree at the time, but just listening to someone else's perspective is going to be powerful.
I agree. You can't lose from listening. We lose nothing by listening. Like you said, and that's key point. You don't have to agree with what you hear. but it is important that we listen. Courtney Brown, excuse me. Welcome, Courtney, on tonight. Thank you for joining us. She agreed with my mom Rosa's statement and said, as a young woman, I understand and agree that bad attitude should never be mistaken for cute, because sometimes we do think, we get on our pedestal and we think that like, I'm just gonna be that chick in this moment, and really it's not cute. It's more of a deficit to us than it is a benefit. Come on, jump in, Elaine, and share. I know you got something good.
I I was just thinking of a situation that happened to me a few years, over 20 something years now ago. And one of our members of the church was in the hospital, and I went to go visit, and some other members showed up while I was there. And Dawn knows I grew up in a very small town. Everybody knows everyone. But these
Mhm.
people were not even from the States, but they joined our church. And we were sitting and laughing and talking. And she looked at me and she was like, I never knew you were this nice. She was like, I just thought you were so mean. Everything that, and I was so shocked because no one has ever said that to me before. But it was something I was doing or not doing that shook her to make her think that way. And I apologized. I was like, I'm sorry that you feel that way. That was never my intention, especially because she was new to the church. But um, I didn't even ask, like, what exactly did I do to, it didn't matter. It didn't matter. All that mattered was that, somehow we have to get around to the other side. And I guess sitting and getting to know me and listening to me cracking jokes, because I have jokes all day,
My goodness.
you know. And again, this was over 20 something years ago. So I was much younger, but I just thought it was funny. And the person who we were there visiting thought it was hysterical. She could not stop laughing. And then she said, well, I see you in the spirit and you do have a sharp tongue. And she said, that's all I'm going to say. And I was
My
like,
God.
yeah, I know that about me. But over the years, I have worked really hard to not be that person. I have, I used to live in Texas, and that was one of the things that helped because everyone was so nice in Texas. Everyone was so helpful. Everyone is very giving. Um, and I didn't want to be known as the woman from New Jersey with a bad attitude because that's what I mean. Everybody I talked to were like, "Ooh, I work in customer service, and man, when someone calls in from New Jersey, and I'm like, oh man, we have a really bad reputation."
Yeah,
That
we do.
that helped me because I didn't want to be known as that woman from New Jersey who came here with the bad attitude. So it did soften me up a lot. But you do have young ladies and some older women who really don't care if you think that they have a bad attitude and they will never change. And the only, those are the people I think that until something tragic happens or something bad happens and they see where their attitude has affected the situation, then they'll make a change. Then, it's all in what the person wants to get out
That's,
of life.
that's right.
Mhm.
I agree. A part of you have to want to change. You have to
Yeah.
Mhm.
see something, and just like that moment when that person said, oh, I didn't realize that you was so nice or whatever, so but and that made you pause because you could have taken the attitude like, I don't know what she's talking about, something wrong with me.
Yeah.
Could
You
have
could
went
have taken
totally
a
left.
stance, and many times we could take a stance like that, and we may have at some point in our lives taken that stance. I know I've taken a
Right.
stance like when I'm working, I'm busy, and if somebody who doesn't know me, and this was when I probably was younger too, but it was more so if it was males, if I was in a dated world, and they made a comment about, oh, you're kind of rough, and like I shared before, being from New York, I'm like, just because I'm from New York, don't and I was ready to go off because I'm like, you trying to comfort me just because you don't like New Yorkers. I don't know what to tell you.
Right.
I'm talking fast as could be, and my head get to bobbing. And I'm like, you trying to,
Right. It's the
you know,
Bronx.
and that was so. As time went on, I said, okay, you know, I may be direct, but okay, you still have to learn tact and tone, and you know, and then people who do know you personally see the sweet, softer side of you, where someone else, they don't know you, they might not get to experience it. So how do we,
Right.
make sure that we're showing the parts that really who we truly are? So, but we have to want to
Yeah.
change though. We have to say, recognize, that's what I said before. There's some young people or older people who they may know, but then there's some who don't recognize it. And somebody may say it to them, but they don't want to believe it because they don't believe that about themselves. They don't
Right.
think it's true. And so they're not going to change, like you said, Elaine, because they don't feel like it's true. And they're like, oh well, that's how
Right.
you feel. That's on you. You can feel that way. That's not the case. I'm gonna be who I'm gonna
Yeah.
be. So
And I think that a
It could
lot
be
of
a
times,
defense mechanism too.
mhm.
hmm that's true. It's very true. Um, I was going to say, it goes back to what you said earlier, Tanya, about acknowledgement. That's what I'm hearing, about it, about us acknowledging. You said, the need to, we have to want to change, but a lot of people don't acknowledge it. And sometimes, and this is another thing that we have to be careful of because we're accountable for one another. Because when we don't check each other on our attitude in our close circles and we pacify it, that's another way that the person does not know, like, okay, no, we don't communicate like that, like
Right.
let's not do, um let's not do that,
Mhm.
let's find a better way to use our words, because when we don't address one another in our close circles, like I feel like a relationship is only as strong as the truth that it can bear, and that's in any relationship. So if we're friends and, me and Elaine been friends for years and we will check each other in a hot minute, we do so attacked and well, most of the time, it's more or less her, she becoming fake because, I'm usually one out of control, but she has her moments too. I'm just saying, but but there's a respect that we have. You already, Bird. There's a respect that we have amongst each other. Like we are never going to let the other one be perceived as anything less than what we are. So if she's saying something to me about, well, Dawn, you could have said that better,
Mhm.
or you didn't have to say it at all. You clearly didn't have to say it like that. And sometimes it's nope, you're just wrong. You shouldn't have said it.
That's good.
Because we cover each other like that. Now, again, I may not like that she's checking me on it. I may not like that but I have to be open to hearing it, so it's that safe space in relationship. Um, and like you said earlier, we have to listen. And I think a lot of times we don't want to listen because we don't want to agree. We think like because I'm listening to you, that means I have to agree with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, but the truth is, just because I'm hearing you doesn't mean I have to agree with what you're saying. That's your
Right.
perception.
Right.
And perception
Right.
is what I heard from, as Elaine was sharing. The woman's perception of her, was not Elaine's fault unless she did something that kind of led her that way. But if you're just being you, we're not responsible for how people necessarily receive what we are giving. I think that as long as we're making sure we're putting it out there in the best light, in the best way that we can, because you can't, in some instances, change your tone, but so much. You
Mhm.
can't pacify too many people because you'll forever be, bouncing up and down and be unbalanced because now you're trying to accommodate everybody,
Right.
so it's that give and take. So when it comes to attitude, just to kind of recap or bring it in, because we always want to have a resolve with us as women and our attitudes. We have to be mindful of our audience, our location. We have to be
True.
mindful of the content of how we're coming across. If we don't want to be perceived a certain way, we have to stop and take a minute and think about how I'm going to address something, which we a lot of times don't do because we are quick to pop off. I know, especially us. I can only say it for us Bronx girls. NYC, we got short fuses, and long tongues, you know. You won't
Oh
even get
boy.
your whole thought. I'm just saying you won't even get. We just like that. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but I think it's just kind of culture has it that way. I want to read this comment before we move on to the next topic too. Courtney says the friendship and accountability, like you mentioned, seem to be the exception more than the rule. That is true. Bad attitudes close the door for sincere, honest love and sisterhood. And I agree with that.
Yeah. I
And it's go ahead.
I have I want to share a situation. Some like Elaine. It was years ago, and I had first. Had just gotten married, so I was I think like 27. I had just moved to the area of Maryland, so I was desperate for some sister friends, and I had joined the church, and then finally got some sister friends, and I remember it, I was really close with someone. She was a little like 5 years older than me, and something happened, and I was being a friend and kind of confronting her on something. And she went slam off. Like, stopped speaking to me, wrote me a whole, like, it was like a Aaliyah letter, like just slam going off. And I was so shocked because part of it was I had prayed about it and I felt the Lord leading me, like, you need to confront this. And I didn't want to, and I did it. And, she was so angry with me. And I was in shock because I was thinking, with my sister friends, I'm used to, being in a safe space where we can talk about things. And if
Right.
there's something going on, the friendships I had developed for so many years, we were able to do that with one another. And I thought, because we had been friends now at this point for about 3 or 4 years, we had to develop that I could have a talk with her about something, and share something, and she did not like it at all, and it was very hurtful to me. And what ended up happening, I said, well, what started to happen was, if it was someone from my past that I knew, it was a new friendship, I was tiptoeing around really
Mm,
developing something deeper with them, because I felt like, for me, if we can't be honest, that we really are not friends. And
right.
so, you deepen connections when you're able to, be honest and tell the truth in love. And, you know, even if it's painful, even if you may not agree. And so I'm thankful, thinking about that comment, to have, friendships where I can call and say, tell me, this happened, because I like to be reflective. So, what do you think about this? And tell me the truth. And I want the absolute truth about whatever it is. And if
Hmm.
I'm having a moment, as I've grown, God is good. As I've grown, I'm not going to 0 to 100. I think about she's not a baby, but I was in my baby sister. Um, she is the calmer of, the two of us is, I'm in the middle. But there were times that she would say, well, in her calmest, sweetest voice, and she was like, well, she was like, you don't have to attend every fight. Somebody say something, you don't have to attend every fight,
Yeah, you quick, Tony. You quick.
she, because I'll be ready, I'm the protector, so I'm ready to, what? Rah! And she was like, you don't have to attend every fight. And I always tell people, I'm like, she's so calm natured, like my mom, that, I always say, me and my dad, we're quick with
Y'all
it.
popping.
Yeah. And so, but I said, she's taught me how to not attend every argument, and not attend every fight. And so now when things happen, I said, I pulled the Kenya. I said, honey, pretended like they wasn't standing there. So I'll say that, I pulled the Kenya. I said, I did what you did. You taught me very well. So, it's good to be able to have people to help hold us accountable,
Accountable.
um, for our attitudes as we learn and grow. But we have to want. I still go back to that. We have to
Right.
want that.
Hmm. No, that's good. That is excellent. And it is so true. We have to want. I know, like I said, I know for me, I didn't want to change when I was in that. Well, this is just who I am mode. I didn't want to. I was like, I'm happy. I'm set in my space, and it's just what it is. And I don't know how my best friends really kind of dealt with me during that time. They just be like, okay, you know what? We just gonna leave you there. And after a while, it will start to feel a certain way, and you will start to feel the distance that you're putting between yourself and people, all because of an attitude that we have. Tiffany, I don't want to mess up your last name. Okay,
Worry.
thank you. I'm gonna say Tiffany
My
O.
sister
That's what
friend.
I'm saying. She says it takes humility to receive advice. Amen and amen. And that's something that we all have to work on, and it becomes a part of our attitude. And I think as far as this is concerned, again, and if you're here again, please, if you're enjoying this conversation, I know you are because we're enjoying giving it to you. We want you to I know I'm having a good time. Listen, let's talk about it. We want to keep it real. We're here to keep it real talk, real resolutions. So I'm going to ask you to, subscribe, and share the Bravo with Sheila page so that you do not miss out on any of these good, great conversations in real space with real women who talk in real issues, real feelings, and we will walk out of here with a real resolve. So as far as our attitudes, we can surmise it by saying that we have to first acknowledge what our attitude is. And it's not always the negative, it's also the positive, the positive attitudes that we do have. We need to keep those up and enhance those and perfect them and build up on them. I mean, the Bible says you never want your good to be evil spoken of, so continue to let your good be good and guard it by checking your attitude. If you check yourself, nobody else has to. So you have to acknowledge it. You have to want to change. You have to listen to what people are saying, not necessarily that you have to agree, but at least be humble enough to listen. And as Elaine was sharing, be mindful of the perception. We're not responsible necessarily for how people perceive our actions, but we are responsible for how we display our actions. But we do have to be mindful of how we're being perceived. So I hope that these little tidbits and nuggets on attitude are giving some of us something to think about. Iron sharpens iron. And in that process, the chipping off of the hard edges is not an easy process. It's not a painless process. And so we have to be willing to really get in the trenches with one another, because I want all my sisters to win. I don't want to, I want all of us to win. Um, I don't want any of us to be left behind or less than, so it's like, sis, I'm saying this to you because, we represent one another, and I just want you to always shine your brightest. And so, ladies, we have to be careful in our attitude and be willing to receive. Can we all agree? Do we
Yes.
all agree?
Can
All
I
right.
share one last thing?
Yeah.
There's a comment in the chat. This is my blood brother, but he
Hmm.
said, and he's quoting something, but he said it's Cool J's fault, talking about oh, it's right here.
Okay. Oh, that's your brother. Okay. Hey, bro.
LL Cool J, but he said a Fendi bag and a bad attitude put him in a good mood, because that song,
Right.
Fendi bag and a bad attitude, and the culture, a lot of times women wore that as a badge of honor. I say,
Hmm.
I was like, because LL Cool J, everybody that know me, I love me some LL Cool J. So but in our actuality, having a bad attitude, there's nothing funny about it at all.
Right. Like, but that might be what put him in a good mood. But
Right.
after you leave him, the rest of the world
Exactly.
may not be happy with you.
That's right.
Oh, there goes my writing partner, Antoinette Saunders' partner. She says, attitude governs your altitude for sure. Amen to that. And she said, yes, the bamboo earrings. Just don't forget those. Don't forget the bamboo earrings. Standing at the bus stop, sucking on the lollipops, all that good stuff. But it's important that we keep our attitudes in check so that
Oh,
we
why am I?
always put our best foot forward. And as I was saying, with us being, our accountability to one another leads us to the next point, which is support. It really, it kind of led us right into that. It is support. And whose comment was it? I just want to go back for a second. She was saying it takes Tiffany O. It takes humility to receive advice. And then someone else mentioned earlier about us creating a safe space for us to share, for us to be heard and received, for us to speak, to listen, and to receive. And I feel like we as women, on one hand, this can be like this is like kind of double fold, because as women we support each other um in different ways, but as a whole we have issues supporting each other. I would say that down through the years my experience has been that we've gotten better at supporting one another, because we seem to have figured out that doing it alone and going alone, it just doesn't get us anywhere or get us as far. We are not, no man is an island, I believe is the saying, and that we are really starting to embrace the fact that we need one another in more ways than we actually can admit and imagine. And support takes on many facets. I was really touched this week. I'm on Clubhouse and I'm in different rooms and different ministries I connect with. And it seems like no matter what room I go into, I'm working, or as my friend calls it, she said, I'm always serving somewhere. Every time she sees me, I'm serving, and I was like, I can't help it, is what I know to do, whether I'm taking notes for somebody, whether I'm doing whatever, And she said, every time I see you, you're serving, no matter what room you're in, you're serving. And it really touched me this week because she sent me a message and she was like, sis, you're always helping other people. She said, I want to ask you today, what can I do to serve you? How can I serve you? Well, child, bye. I was no good. I was crying on the good people's job. The snot was in my nose. It was one of those moments. And I can't say that I've never had support, because I do have support in isolated spaces with certain people. None of us we don't ever have 100% support. I don't even support 100% as much as I would like to, but it touched me because for her to make that observation of something that I didn't even realize, I didn't, like, just what I do, and then for her to extend herself to ask me, how can she serve me? What can she do for me? And I was floored also because I tell her I can't even answer you. And I was like, I can't answer you because I don't even know where I need the help at. I don't know where I need help at, and sometimes, like, again, Bern and I, we support each other in like everything that we do, whether it's encouragement, whether it's, personal, whether it's from a distance, whether it's I'm gonna send you this, whether, but I realized that that kind of support is so priceless. If I told her I wanted to make kites out of bamboo thread, she'd be like, okay, well, this is where you can get some bamboo string from. And this is, whatever it is that we're doing. And I think sometimes that we as women, we have to just get behind each other. And no matter whatever it is that your friend is doing, because I'm not saying go with every bad idea that they have, but support them through it. Because a lot of times the minute we don't agree with their idea or the way they're doing something, we fall off. So us supporting one another, it's multifaceted and it looks different for everybody. And I want to pause for a comment. Antoinette, my partner, that's my writing partner, my poetic counterpart right there. She said, it's sad. I'm sorry. Yes. She said, it's sad when you are not used to being supported, and when you are being supported, you are not sure how to receive it. So the area I struggle, that's an area of struggle for me. And that's true. It's very true. It really caused me to think, like, oh my goodness, like, I don't even, and I told her, I said, I honestly don't know how to answer you. Because usually, like, Elaine does events, she and I've done events. We both organize people. We organize a lot of stuff. So when you are an organizer and when you're the one used to, kind of setting the motion of the plan, you take care of all the bases. So when someone is asking you like, "Oh, what do you need?" You don't even know how to tell them what you need because you're like, "I've already done it all." So but doesn't mean that there aren't areas that you need support in. And in my mind, I couldn't think of one because I wasn't thinking about personally, the support that I need. How am I going to help grow my business? So she came back to me and she said, "All right, sis, what I'm going to do is," she said, "I'm going to tell you these are the areas of the things that I do. These are the services I provide. Tell me what on this list I can do for you." And I was like, wow, and I was just like, okay. And as I'm looking through her list, I said, I saw something that I needed help with. And I was like, I didn't even realize that I needed help. Had she not extended herself, I would have went to try to figure it out myself,
Right.
you know. And if this was a couple of years ago, I would have completely rejected her offer, rejected her support. I would have heard her comment in a different way because I would have taken it in a place of um does she think I'm weak? Does she think I don't know? That defensive space when all she's saying is like, sis, I just want to be a blessing to you, and help you grow. So sometimes it's hard for us to receive support. And I'm saying this like we have to be, again, go back to humility, be humble enough to say that there are some things that we don't know. And then allow other people to help us, which goes back to that safe space. You ladies jump in, share what you think, how they would.
Yeah, I think this topic is definitely big because I'm thinking about all different ways. Like there's some people who, feel like they support others, and then when it's time, they're not getting the support from them from those same people. So that's an issue. I know sometimes people feel like, people don't support them. They don't have the support that they want. I feel like the way the world is now, people are working in isolation and silos. So everybody is trying to
Mhm.
do them. So it's almost like, well, if it's not something I'm interested in, then I don't have the time or I can't support it. So, it can be a struggle for someone. And then you have the person who, um, they want the support, but then when someone goes to support them, if they're not doing it exactly the way they want the support, then they don't want the support. So it's like, okay, do you want support or do you not want support? So I feel like, that word support, it can take on a whole lot of different meanings depending on the person, and
Sure.
what's going on with them. But I feel like, the way things are going now, I've seen things where I feel like when I was a kid or younger, people supported people more. That's just how I feel. Like my perception, and maybe it's just my perception, but I feel like now everyone is so busy doing themselves that
Mhm.
people are like, please support me, and begging for support, and people are just like, I got my own thing. I'm doing my own thing, or I'm not really interested in what you're doing, or I'm not really interested. They're not gonna say that, but they just don't show up.
Right. Or
So
they just don't respond.
they
Right.
don't
Right.
respond, or they don't respond. So the non
And no answer is an answer.
absolutely. So you don't get a response at all. You just is a cricket. So then what does that mean? Then you don't have the support. So yes,
So do you think that if I'm hearing you correctly, so the change in culture
I do think.
has we've shifted from a culture of I'm gonna support you regardless just because you need the support versus now it's well if it's not my thing, I can't really get with you.
I feel like a
You know.
little bit. I do feel like it's kind of the culture. I do. I actually do feel like. I mean, that's just my perception. I feel like the way the culture is now, everyone is trying to make it. The big social media. We have the content creators, and we have everybody is podcasting, TikTok, and posting,
Right.
and everybody is trying to do their thing, which is great. But I feel like there's something that has happened with the community feel of it. Like there's a lack of support. And so you have
Hmm.
the same small amount of people supporting people or doing the work. And so, I think about even in churches, I've heard people, complain about that, where you have the same 5 or 10 people always heading or doing the work, and everybody else is just kind of on the sidelines because they're too busy to help and support because they have their own thing they're doing. So
Right.
I feel like it is a culture shift.
That shift in culture. Bern, I want to give you space to share as well. We have some comments. I'm going to read these two, and then I want you to jump right in and share. Okay, so we got your favorite person, Tanya, my big brother Donald. And I'm
That's
always
my
here.
favorite. Yep.
I'm always here for you, basis 2 or 4. He's 2 or 4. I'm 4 or 4. You know, my parents had 4 kids. That's how we label ourselves. And we the even numbers. Antoinette says correct. And then my big brother says absolutely. This is a real problem in the Black community where other nationalities show is up, which is true. You know, I've seen a shift in I feel like I'm seeing more Black women or women coming together um, in those smaller groups to try to support one another. Just because we have whatever our commonality is, everybody's doing it differently. But I'm starting, I do see us rising in that way. So go ahead and jump in, Burn.
I guess my perspective is just a little bit different. I think when I started the whole doing events and doing engagements, I had support. I did have support. I had support because of the churches that I belonged to. But, moving away from the area, no one lived around the corner from me. I'm in a whole different
Right.
state. So I never expected any support. I just did what I know to do, which was keep my head down and keep it moving. Um, and I am very, and Dawn will probably agree, I'm very particular about who I support.
Yeah.
Um, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be doing what I'm doing, but it speaks about their integrity, their stick to itness, their, I have a cousin who every other week is emailing me. She doesn't stick to a plan. She doesn't stick to anything she's doing. This week she's writing a magazine. Next week so I am, I'm all about, hey, if you want, the same cousin who wrote a book. I didn't even know what the book was about. But I was like, hey, bring your book to the conference and put it on the table and sell it. So, but I think that that was more of her thing to write out some things that happened to her and what she was feeling. So, um I don't just support women probably because of my own experiences. I have tried to support women and then they put you on Front Street, or they're not as integral as they said they were. And then they're doing things that go against everything that I might believe in or think about. So I do take a moment before I say, "Yep, I'm gonna be there." Mm, I don't know.
Yeah,
I
she
don't
good
know.
for the I don't know. She got that.
What
She got that. I put that on lock.
I
I
don't
ain't
know.
mad at
Maybe
her.
it could be. It could be not. It depends. You know, when Dawn decided at one point she was doing Mary Kay, I didn't hesitate. Let me buy some from you. Buy some jewelry from you. And I may not be there be everywhere physically. I have a
Mhm.
friend in New Jersey who's all about writing movies, and she's doing great. I cannot be in New Jersey every weekend to support you, but I'm supporting you because that's your dream. That's what you want to do. But we have an understanding between us that, that's not going to stop you from doing what you're doing. It's not going to stop me from doing what I'm doing. But we just know that we're, mentally there for one another. So I think as you get older, when you when you realize you cannot be everywhere and doing all things for all people, that your support will look different. Won't mean you're not supporting.
Right.
I just think it will look different. And even when I first started, my ex said to me, "You're doing conferences?" And I said, "Yep." He was like, "With no church support?" "Nope, financially or otherwise." And he is a gospel promoter. So he knew what that entailed. And he was the first one when people say, well, let me know, unlike Dawn's situation, let me know if you need help because I'm here to help you. But they want to help you how they want to help you, not how you really need help or the areas you need help in. So that also made me take a step back because I'm like, well, this young lady obviously really wanted to be a blessing because she was like, here's where my gifts lie. This is what I do. Can I do any of these things for you? So she already knew she couldn't do things outside of her giftings, right? So years ago, before we had digital, and we used to go out and put flyers on cars on Sundays
Yes,
while everybody
Lord.
was in church, and I come out with all the flyers on their cars. And I said, hey, I just need people on Sunday mornings to take a bunch of flyers and put them on cars or give them out. No volunteers. They didn't want to do that. They wanted to do something else. But this is where I need help. But they didn't want to do that. So I think that support starts, like you said, it's many ways that it can show up, many ways that you can support. It doesn't mean you always have to be physically there. Sometimes it's monetary. Hey, I can't make it, but here's some money for a ticket that you're selling or
Right.
whatever. I think it just looks different.
It's so true. I want to read a comment. Blind guy, his wife, and they're like, "Hey, how are y'all?" Oh, and also Von Eric, welcome, blessings to all. If y'all don't mind hitting that like button for us on tonight, subscribe and share so that you can put this great conversation out to someone else who needs to hear it. But blind guy, his wife, their life says the current culture is creating some vultures for sure, with every individual aiming to create their own mountain rather than support a collective situation that will grow everyone at once. Amen. I agree, and I definitely um, agree. The thing about support, I think we can all agree, is that is necessary, and I believe that we have to have. And I know everybody may not agree with this, and that's fine. We can respectfully disagree, but there has to be a thing of unconditional support, and it doesn't mean that everybody falls into that category. But I'm going to support you no matter what you do. I'm going to support you. And sometimes support, it is multifaceted and it takes on different appearances as we go along. But if you want to, make envelopes, then I'm going to support you in that. What can I do? And sometimes the supporting of one another in that is simply us just listening or us just being there, us just hashing out, an idea with someone, being, that listening ear that a person needs. It doesn't always mean that we have to show up in full force. We support, we can support people as much as our capacity,
Right.
you know, um, is. And it seems like we've lost Elaine. Hopefully she'll be back on, but that's okay. So when we think of support, I feel that we have to be mindful that you can't expect it. Support is not one sided. That's another thing. It's not one sided. We have to support one another. Even if we're all writing books, I need to be able to support your book and you support mine. Even if we are all chefs, I need to be able to support your restaurant and you support mine. Whatever it is that we're doing, because what we realize is that no two people do the same thing the same way,
Right.
and we all have different voices. They're different people that are assigned to it. Someone may resonate. Tanya, you might be the queen of Southern food. I might be the queen of Caribbean food. But when we come together, we create a space. We're providing for everyone. Your people that you resonate with and the people that I resonate with. So we should not feel um, like we can't support one another, because it doesn't take anything away from us. It actually helps us build. We can learn from one another by supporting one another. I want to read my brother's comment. He says, it's important to be mindful of who's willing to support in the right way for the right reason. Opportunities can be developed, not to mention growth. I've made great connections. And that's true. You do have to be mindful of who's willing to support you and how. He says, helping support in small tasks still can lead to great opportunities. Know your assignment. which is true. Again, everybody's capacity to support is very different.
Mhm.
It's in different ways, it's in different spaces. Welcome back, Burn. Yay! Bravo. Thank you for joining us. So, for those of you who are just chiming in, this is our Bravo with Sheila platform. On tonight, I'm your Thursday night host, Lady Dawn B, and tonight we are in the ladies' room, ladies only, talking over some women issues. I want to say just some things that we can sharpen up on in our lives to make us a little better at being who we are, so that we are better for one another. So we have our third time on the platform, Lady T with her tidbits, who's amazing. And we have my girl from back in the day, Elaine Edwards, the Queen Bee, and me. So thus far, we have covered attitude and support, and I want to keep going because I want us to keep each other all night long. But because we get into this and it gets good, But as we are talking about support, and as I was saying, how it doesn't take away from us to support one another, even if we're doing the same thing, because everybody does it differently. All right, blind guy, his wife, their life, the all-star panel. That's what he said. He said we're the all-star panel. I take that. We'll take it. We take it. Thank you, sir. We don't have to be fearful of supporting one another in what we do, even if we're doing the same thing, because we resonate with different people. We are assigned to different people, which brings us to the next point, which is competition. My Lord, my Lord. I don't even know where to go with this one, to be honest with you. You know, um, I'm of the mindset, and I wasn't always this way. Excuse me. Growing up, most people know me. I sing, I preach, I write, do a whole bunch of other stuff. But when I was in high school, and we had our concerts, we talk about competition. I've always hated competition. I went to music and art high school. I tried out. I loved it. I loved the school. I hated the process because you had to compete in order to get in, and you had to be the best of the best in order to get in. I hated that, and it hurt me to my heart because I'm actually super sensitive on the inside, even though it does not always show that way on the outside. But and it's because I think everyone is so amazing in their own right that it is hard to compare, one to another. Um, but in high school, we had to try out for different songs. I'm sure you've all had something. We all have had something in life where we had to try out against someone else. Whether it was for, we do it in jobs, you know, um, and I would end up averaging about three solos every concert. But it taught me something, but it would kill me because sometimes it was a person who was really passionate about a particular song that we were going out for, but I had the better voice for it. And it doesn't, and I didn't get every solo that I wanted because everything wasn't for me. But I would average about three solos per concert. And I remember my friend who was very close, and she and I were going out for it, and I was like really rooting her on. And she just kept saying to me, oh, you're gonna get it over me, you're gonna get it. And I was like, why would you say that? Like, you don't know, like it, could be the other way. Um, I did end up getting the solo, and then I didn't want it because me getting it over her really hurt her, like it broke her in a really, it killed whatever confidence that she had. And she felt like she would always be kind of in the shadow, you know. And no matter what I said to her, it didn't fix it. It didn't make it any better. And it actually ruined our friendship, you know. Yeah. And the reason why I hate competition so much is because I feel like this, and this is not from a cocky standpoint, it's not from arrogance. It's just from something that I have learned to embrace about myself. No one is better at being Dawn than Dawn. No one is better at being Tanya than Tanya. No one is better than being Elaine than Elaine. Now, the only way we can really compete for something is if we are on the same level and if we are exactly the same. I'm like, you can't compete apple with orange because they're made of two, it's two different purposes, two different things, you know, and we pit ourselves against each other instead of, instead of the same things that we acknowledge, we need to acknowledge our differences and embrace them for the beauty that they are, instead of feeling like we have to compete against one another to say what I do is better than what you do. And we as well, because the world has trained us that way. You compete to get into colleges, you compete for scholarships, you compete for jobs. What else? I mean, there's a host of things that we can talk about competing, about. But amongst women, we have created, and this, I'm gonna say it, we're gonna stir the pot, I'm gonna say it. We compete over men that ain't even looking at none of us. I'm just saying, sometimes they might be, but maybe not really, and we put ourselves in such horrible spots by competing instead of lifting one another up. Um, I'm going to read a couple of comments. Antoinette was saying, I don't like competition either. I don't think it's necessary. I understand it. Donna Lowry says, neither do I. Um, she said, and Donna says, well stated, Lady Dawn, and come on now. I'm saying we compete for so many things, and we allow the spirit of competition to get into our friendships. You want to ruin a friendship fast? Get into a situation of competition. Oh, I bought a Coach bag the other day. Oh, well, I bought a Michael Kors bag. Oh, well, I bought, a Birk bag. Oh, well, I bought a Louis Vuitton bag. Oh, I got these shoes. Oh, I got that. Oh, I bought, and we then tend, instead of complimenting one another, we tend to start to build this atmosphere of competing and trying to one up one another. So I want you ladies to share what you feel, what the root of that is. Why do you think that we have this attitude, or this aura of competition versus embracing one another?
I think
I
it comes
think it,
from just being not as confident in whatever your gifts and talents are, and you see someone else doing what it is that you want to do. Now, I this is an area I don't really know that much about because I really have never had to deal with any of this. But I do see other people who have to deal with it. And a lot of times it's jealousy, uh, or if you feel like you can sing, but maybe you don't have the confidence to get up in front of everybody and sing, but then the friend that you have can sing also, and she just goes and grabs the mic and starts singing. Now it's awakened the competition in you because I can sing that, I can do that. Other than that, this is really not my
You
an
lucky. You
area that I've
fortunate.
never really, yeah, I never really had to deal with any of this. So I'm gonna let Tanya
All right. Well, before
go for
Tanya comes, since you passing the mic to Tanya, and I respect that, and it's good that you have not had to deal with that spirit of competition amongst your friends, your peers. I know in our group we don't have that. We everyone is secure in who they are and what they do, and we love the diversity of our mix. But I want to read some comments, and then Tanya, I want you to take it from there because I know you're ready. I know you got something good. You're ready to come off your tongue. Antoinette Saunders says jealousy will definitely cause you not to support because I don't want to see you do better than me. Not cool. True. Donna says insecurity is one area of issue with competition. My brother says life is competitive, which is true. He said, that you should have I don't agree that you shouldn't have turned it down. Your friends should have been supportive. We win and lose. That's why it's called competition. True. Antoinette says absolutely insecurity. Blind guy, his wife, their life says, I just learned to fall back. There is no competition, and I'm confident in my situation in life. Besides, I hope I change slash improve it. Just a very good point. Donald also says, except that if you enter the ring loss comes with it. From that you grow. I experienced it even today and smiled through it. Loss and grow through it. for what it takes to win. Now, those are all very good points, but the reality also is, and they're very true, but the reality is that no one likes to lose, and we all manage that loss differently. So my expectation from my friend at that time was, yes, I did expect her to still wish me well. I would not have responded the way she did, but it was also the space that she was at. Everybody is not in that mature type of space where you can just, accept it and move forward and learn from it. Donna says, I used to allow the competitive spirit to deter me. Um, and that's another thing. Um, some people do allow competition to deter them. Some don't bother to even enter into it because they're like, I just don't want to do it. But I feel like you should always put your best foot forward regardless. It's 50-50, and just because you lose doesn't mean you're a loser. Just because you lose doesn't mean that, your value changes. It just means that this opportunity wasn't for you. So Tanya, I want you to go ahead and jump in.
I think it's what Donald said. Competition is a way of life. A lot of times, I'm not someone who has to deal with that necessarily in my personal circle, friend circle. I've not experienced it in that way. I always believe what God has for me is for me. I auditioned to get into a drama program in high school, and I was really nervous, but got in. But then when it was time for college, I remember being a great student, and I got a lot of rejection letters, and I was like in shock, like because I had already decided my brother went away to college. I'm going away too. I'm not staying in the city, So I was like, I can't believe this, and I ended up getting in. But see, being a educator, there always were times where I had to interview or for something. It's like you're competing almost for different roles and positions. It could get real sticky because I feel like over the years as an educator, I'm a collaborative person. I like working with other people. I like, picking your brain. Let's work together, team. Let's do team stuff. And I remember, when I changed courses and moved and worked in a particular school system, everyone was competing for self. So it was different for me because I wasn't used to that. I was used to more collaborative type stuff. And then when I realized, because it was a lot of people's paycheck was attached to who is number one. So I'm not helping you because I got to make sure that I'm going to be the top person. So, that was different for me because I wasn't used to that. And I had to kind of learn how to, not be as collaborative because I didn't have anybody to be collaborative with. He was like, I'm like, how do you do that? I was new to the system and new to this particular, because every school has a different culture and every, system has, and I'm like asking questions. People who I know have been at the school for 5 and 10 years was acting like they was confused about what I was asking. And I was like, what is going on here? And then I realized, I said, it's a competition. And so it's the way of the game. But I agree with Donald because it helps you to grow. And so I know when I have, being an educator and teaching kids, a lot of times they can become really crushed. It could be simple things like I always do spelling bees and different things with my kids, although, they try to tell you that don't teach spelling. Anybody who's listening out here, you teach spelling. These children can't spell. They're raising whole grown adults that's doing WYD when they're writing papers. So,
wow.
But, spelling bees and things like that. And they would be like, upset, devastated. And I'm like, it's okay. You might lose this time, but you might win another time. It's all a part of the game. So the one area that I never competed in, and I was never going to put myself in a position to be competed, if I'm in a relationship and I'm your lady, I'm not competing with anybody. So I never understood when, people will be calling people up and chasing them down and all this kind of stuff. I'm number one. And if for some reason I find I'm not, then I'm going to be none. So I will take myself out of the competition because I'm competing. What's for me is for me. And if you've made a decision that you're going to try to make me, I'm not going to compete. I'm going to X myself out of that factor. So, but competition, I don't like it necessarily, but it's something that happens in life. And, like you said, how do we deal with the loss? Because there's some people who refuse to compete, and
Right.
they won't compete. And so they'll kind of stay, say, nope, I just want to stay at a standstill. I'm not going to go out for that. But if you have a situation where, you might have a position or you really want something, you got to go for it. If you don't get it, there have been times that I've gone for interview for things and did not get it, boohoo crying, oh, I thought I was going to get it. And you're feeling bad and had to, brush my shoulders off and say, get back in there, girl, get back in there, kind of
Right.
pep myself up, self-talking. And I had sister friends and family was like, it's okay. It didn't happen this time, but next time, you to get back in there. So your competition is not easy, but
Right.
unfortunately, depending on the situation, it may be necessary.
I agree, and those are good nuggets and good points. Competition, it is a part of life, whether we want it to be or not. I agree with you. Like in a relationship space, I'd be like, I don't even have a number. I don't want to be number one. If I'm not OG, then I ain't a part of it. That's period. If you are not sure about me, then I'm not for you. Period. And not just in male female relationships, but sometimes in friend relationships, because people, and I know we have to feel each other out, and we grow as we go, and as we go we grow. But I'm like, girl, I don't have no time. I'm not jumping through hoops. I'm not doing 20 push-ups. I'm not, we not doing that. Like, I'm not. Either you gonna be sure about who I am and all that comes with me, or you're not. And it's okay either way, but I'm not competing, with anyone over anything. I don't believe that there are things that are really a loss. I learned to not look at it as loss anymore. I've learned to look at it as experience. It's something that I learned, along the way. We have to be really careful about the perception that we're giving, to each other, to our children. And because, like you said, competition is a part of life. And especially in the space, in the relationships of women, we are not each other's enemy, not by any means. And I think that we compete a lot that way, because we are always trying to one up one another. I make it my business that when I greet people, especially my sisters, my women, I say, good morning, beautiful. Good morning, gorgeous. Me and Elaine have a thing. It could be any time of the day when we when we call each other, be the afternoon or whatnot. I said, good morning. It could be 3 in the afternoon. I'll still answer good morning. And she'll start singing in her Mary J voice, good morning, gorgeous. But we just, we compliment each other, because I want my sisters to know that I'm not your competition and you're not mine. I think you are beautiful and amazing, and we have to try to kill that spirit before it even has a chance to rise up anymore, because we're always looking for someone's attention. Everybody wants to be number one, and everyone, I feel, is number one in their own space. You just have to find the space that's right for you. And if a space is not right for you, it doesn't mean that you don't have value. It just means that it is not your space, period. Because we have to kill this spirit amongst us so we can stop tearing each other down. Blind guy, his wife, their life says these systems have people chasing bags, can't manage the bag, no portfolio, bad credit, confused accounts, but chasing the bag because society told them to. Good point. Donald says, look, I don't take loss well always. I don't think you ever have, big brother, but I'm gonna let you have that. But after a while, I developed to be ready again. Good point, Tanya. And I only said it because, you know what, my dad raised us to be like, we're brathwaite. We don't, just like there's certain things we don't do. We don't go out like that, and we don't do it. So we are proud in who we are in and of ourselves, but at the same time, we don't, with anyone, no one goes into something to lose. And I think we have to remove that stigma. I think I don't know where this came along with. Our kids are rather soft, and I think it happened along the time when they started with participation trophies. So everybody got a trophy. Just because you showed up, you got a trophy,
Right.
and so we've come through life with that attitude, and that's why some of us adults don't know how to handle loss, and that's another reason why we compete so much with one another, you know, because everybody now gets a participation trophy. You
Yes.
don't, so it takes away from the person who worked really hard to get where they needed to be, so there are pros and cons to competition, and I think that it just again sharpens, it takes some of the edge off. But we as women have to learn that we are not our sister's competitor. We are not our sister's enemy. It's like we're actually on the same team, sis. And when we meet with a woman who doesn't have that mentality, we have to find a way to embrace them, to take that defense, help them relax their shoulders a bit. Sometimes you have to show them what real confidence and security looks like, so that they will start to learn how to relax and just walk in who they are and be okay with that. um FLW teacher, your brother, Tanya says some people are wired to compete, so perhaps we should create more healthy mediums of competition. That is a great point.
Mhm.
That is a great point. Some people just are, you are just why you are wired, how you're wired. And we do need to create a healthier environment and a healthier space for people to compete.
Right.
But I think we kind of have to change our verbiage as to, if you don't win,
Right.
does it mean that you're a loser? Because again, that is the thing people are trying to avoid being. I don't want to be the loser.
And the shame associated with it.
Right,
Mhm.
right. So when we remove those things off of, the stigma of competition, we will have a healthier environment for us to each grow, because everybody's on different levels at different times in life. You might be number one today, but you might be number two tomorrow. So this is really great conversation so far. I hope you guys are enjoying it and getting something out of it. Again, this is our Thursday night uh, conversation on Bravo with Sheila. We have our Tanya, Sister Tanya, and our sister Elaine, my girls. We here chatting in the ladies' room, and ask you to just like, subscribe, and share this YouTube channel, Bravo with Sheila, so you do not miss any of the amazing conversations that we are having. We are here just to open up dialogue. We're not trying to convince nor convict. We just want to open up some dialogue so that we can have a better understanding, so that we can have better relationships with each other and with ourselves. So we thank you for tuning in with us. We have like one or two more. I think we almost through. And this is really good. Now this one I like. I really want to get to number 5. I kind of just want to jump there because that one is like my favorite for tonight. That's we gonna stir the pot number 5. So we're gonna get through number 4, and then we're gonna number 5, and then we're gonna call it a night. Um, so number 4 is reciprocation. Reciprocation is I feel it can be an issue in most relationships, because everybody, well, let me not say everybody, a lot of people, because I haven't polled everybody in the world, so I can't say everybody, but a lot of people um, want to be the receiver and not the giver. A lot of times in relationships, again, whether it's male or female, whether it is with our sisters, we as women, I find that in relationships right now, in the relationship space, reciprocation, the men are like, it's like a revolt going on amongst the men. Like the men are real angry these days because they just feeling like they've been serving women for so long, they've been doing stuff for women for so long, they've been carrying women for so long. You want me to be the chief, the protector, the provider. You want me to be the gentleman. You want me to be the chauffeur. You want me to be the cook. You want me to be, all of these things. And what am I getting out of it? What am I have actually talked to a few men, few of my male friends, and we're gonna have this same type of conversation with the men. We're gonna do a man cave conversation so the men can come on and share as well. um but when it comes to reciprocation in relationships, um I want to know who do you feel or who do you think should initiate? Because a lot of people are like, well, I'm only gonna do this if he does that, or I'm only gonna do this if she does that. And so everybody's at a standstill. So you sitting on your side of the ring, I'm sitting on my side of the ring, and ain't nobody, we're not doing anything because nobody wants to be the first one to serve. Nobody wants to be the first one to put themselves out there because then they feel and fear that by putting themselves out there, they're not going to get back what they put in. So, ladies, tell me what you feel about what I've said so far, and who do you feel should initiate so there is some reciprocation? Would you be the first to give?
I think I need to go back to the point that I made when we was ending our first time together. And when I
Mm-hmm.
say, and I do stand by this and I believe in this, if everybody wakes up, if you're in a relationship, if you spouse or not, if you're dating and you think about the people that you love and you care about, if everybody wakes up with the notion of love on their mind, how will I serve you? Then you will not have an issue with this topic right here. You won't have an issue because
Mm-hmm.
the selfishness would melt away if everybody wakes up and say, okay, how can I love this person the way they need to be loved? If you're focused on that, then it won't be it's almost like you're now competing to see who can love the other person the best and the most.
Or
So
first.
if you focus on that, and I've tried really hard over the last 10 years to say, okay, the people that I love, the people that's a part of my circle, and the people that God has assigned to me, how am I able to love on them the way that they need to be loved? And I try to live by that so that I'm not now sitting back saying, oh, I wish, they ain't do this for me. I'm not worrying about that because I believe that if I concentrate on what God has assigned me to do, I don't have to worry about that because I'm going to get my blessing regardless. So I try to be really reflective on that. If we just make sure that we are always trying to look from a lens of how can I serve that person, whoever it is, the person that God has assigned you to that you love, worry about that, then we're not going to have this issue because I do know it's an issue with people.
Hmm. I agree, and I hear you. And if I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying that you are intention. And I'm going to read some of these comments too, because the men are rising up, y'all. They're rising up raw in the comment section right now. But if I hear you right, Tanya, you're saying that you're very intentional
I had to try to be,
about.
yeah, because I would,
Hmm.
I feel like in my past, I would feel resentful. I had to change my lens on how I saw things. Sometimes I would feel resentful if I feel like I'm doing, and I'm not feeling the same love back. I had to change my lens on how I looked at it. So now, if I concentrate on who God has assigned to me and doing, I always feel the gratitude and love because it's always going to come back to me at that point
Hmm.
because I had to change my lens on how I saw things. That's for me. So that's
And that's a great, no, that's great resolution and a great response about changing your lens and changing your perspective so that, you are focused on putting out the love that you want to receive. But we also have to realize that in just what you're saying, it's not going to come back. Like, we're not an echo chamber. So it's not always going to come back the same way that we put it out there.
nope.
And I think a lot of times we feel that there is no reciprocation because we are looking for it back in the same manner in which we gave it. But you may need that kind of intentional love in the sense of words of affirmation. Somebody else might need that type of reciprocation or that intentional love in the way of being, like acts of service, whatever it is that they say with your love language, so we have to be open, like you said, and change our lenses to make sure that we are not limiting ourselves to receiving things the same way that we are giving them. And if that is how you give, and that's a whole nother show we can get into, if how you give is the only way that you can receive, then there's a disconnect, I feel, somewhere in there. Because if you bring me bread when I need eggs, I'm going to be upset because I don't need that.
Right.
But is it that I don't need it, or do I not need it now? I should still be thankful because you brought this for me. I just may not need it now. So, but that's a whole nother conversation that we could have. I want to read some comments, and I want to get to Elaine too. Because the men, like I said, my brother's like, yep, say it. Blind guy, his wife, their life says, I'm sure the men are ready for their day. My brother says, I wonder if women think reciprocation to a man is being submissive. That's a good question, Donald. We don't have to talk about that on men's night. Um, Blind guy, his wife, their life says, my experience has been that whoever knows better should do better and initiate. I agree. Showing that love is an action. We grow reciprocation. Um, I think that we have to take it out of the box again of just it being one with reciprocation is that I look at it in the sense of the infinity symbol. There are ebbs and flows. Sometimes you're going to be pushing, sometimes you're going to be pulling, you know. So when it's your time to push, you can't be mad because somebody on the other side is pulling you. But if you feel like you're the one who's always pushing and never being pulled, um, again, like you said, we have to change our perspective. That's a conversation that needs to be had because maybe the person is expressing it in a different way that we're not acknowledging. So that goes to a communication thing. I love what you said about how starting out with wake up, how will I serve you? How can I serve you? How can I love you? How can I get you what you need? Because I feel like when you give a person what they need, not everybody, but when you give the person or the people in your life that you are with and that you're connected to what they need, they will in turn give you what you need. However, you have to have communication about what your needs really are. And we have to, acknowledge them. And I can't wait to get to the men's conversation too, because I feel like, again, this whole reciprocation piece, especially in relationships, it's like men are tired and women are angry, you know, and nobody wants to start. So everybody is at this standstill, which is why we have these broken relationships, which is why we have attitudes of women saying, like we talked about the last 2 weeks, I got this, I'm doing it all by myself. What do I need you for? Because I got it. I'm already doing these things. So what do I need you for? I'm not going to get back what I give. So does that mean that we should not give or give a person a chance? When do we start to open up that door and take that chance? To love first or to give first. So Elaine, I'm gonna pass it to you so you can share. Come on through.
This has always been an area of issue for me, especially in male female relationships, because I am a giver. So when you get into a relationship and you're with someone who does not give back the way you give or even give back at all, it becomes an issue for the person who's doing all the giving. So that even if you have conversation about, like, I dated somebody and he said, I will never buy flowers. I don't like flowers. Flowers die. So are you buying the flowers for yourself? Because the person you're with loves flowers. So I think like Dawn said, the communication comes in. But when the communication comes in and you're still having to explain what it is that you like and what they like, and you're still the only one giving, the relationship does come to a standstill. I think when you get into a relationship where the person not only hears you but sees you and does like Tanya says, where they get up in the morning and they say, well, how can I serve you? It makes it easier to reciprocate, because then you're like, this person always does this for me, I want to do something for them. And then it becomes healthy. Then it goes back and forth. That's just male female relationships. But then you have friendships that there's always one of my friends says she's always putting her friends in categories. Like, this is the friend she knows she can depend on if she need a loan. This is the friend she can depend on to hang out with. So I know there are some friends in my life that will never, ever give on the level that I give. But I have other friends who surpass that, who are always thinking of me, who are always, hey, I saw this in the store, or sending me coffee mugs in the mail, or, hey, I was just thinking about you and this reminded me of you. Then that's a different kind of, like, friendship and love. So I do struggle more on the male female relationships, because I am a giver, and it's hurtful when the person that you say you love and they say they love you don't ever give back anything. And like Dawn said, maybe they are, but not on the level that you're expecting. Then that becomes a whole nother conversation. And then
Right,
you got to talk.
right.
You got to talk about it.
Right. So I want to take a pause to just say hey to Sir Hale. Welcome to the chat on tonight. And again, everyone, if you're enjoying this conversation, we know you are because we're loving giving it to you. Please like, subscribe, and share to the Bravo with Sheila channel so that you don't miss any of our great conversations. This is only going to get better and grow bigger from here. And I want to ask you, ladies, this one question real quick before we move on to the next one. And I've enjoyed all of this. And we hope that this information, again, we're just here to have real talk and have real resolution. We want someone to be encouraged when we leave here. Sir Hale says adults in the 21st century should have no issue talking and saying words, but comprehension and honoring what is communicated is an issue. That is true. It can be very great point. We do have an issue. Sometimes what we say, what someone says, and what we hear can be totally different. At times. But I want to ask about this reciprocation because you ladies have brought up really great points and shared a lot of good nuggets and examples. So, do you think that reciprocation, when we think of reciprocation, does it have to be in equal volume, or is it reciprocation equal in service, or equal in how we share, how we act? Because like we were saying, if I do this for you, I want the same thing done back for me. Like you were saying, the gentleman said I would never give flowers because flowers die. you know um but you love flowers. So if you never give me flowers because you don't like that, I have an issue with that, because then you're not trying to do what makes me happy. You're not doing what you don't like. So it's not about me. It's about you. And when we are being reciprocal one to another, sometimes we have to do things that we may not like, but we do it because this is what the person that I'm with likes, whether it's your spouse, your mother, your son. Lord knows I do a lot of things for my child that I do not like. Not in the least bit. Not at all. Not one bit. But I do it, and with these young people today, he don't even get back. He don't even give it back. But I don't necessarily expect him to, in the same way, to give it back in the same way that I give it to him, just because we're on different planes and different levels. But if I ask you to go get some, you ask me to drop you off at work. My When I ask you then to take out the garbage, for me, that's you reciprocating because you're meeting my need. So just really quick, do you ladies think that reciprocation has to be an equal match, or is it in volume of what a person does? Like, how do you perceive that reciprocation?
No, I just
I
think
think equal effort. Go
Equal
ahead,
effort.
Tanya.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think it is equal effort, and I think it depends on what makes that person feel loved. So,
Right.
that's why I say, like, I keep going back to, you wake up with the intention, being intentional. So, I heard people say that too, Elaine. Well, and I would never give somebody flowers, and I was like, oh, okay, so you don't want to date me. So the thing about it is, if you're constantly saying that you're not going to do something because it's something that then you're selfish, and it's how you want to be loved. It has nothing to do with me. So love is an action word. Love is action. So I'm going to love you the way you need to be loved once I understand how it's
How that
communicated.
is. Right.
And then I'm going to
Right.
expect the same thing for you to love me the way I need to be loved. Because we're communicating. And if that makes me feel good, it makes me feel love, for you to outright say is because I don't like it, then I'm not going to do it. Then, so I think communication, but it has to be, you thinking about the person. And somebody might not be able to do something grandiose. Like I'm a person, when acts of service, and thinking about the five love languages, gifts. When people hear the word gifts, I don't need lavish stuff. I don't need lavish stuff at all. I'm talking about
Mm-hmm.
the thought. Before I had these braces on my teeth, anybody who knew me, I loved some Doritos. They could pick up a bag of Doritos for me and say, I
Child.
brought you a bag of Doritos, and I would be so excited as if they brought me some big ticketed item, just
Right.
because I know that they thought about me. So it's
Right.
the littlest things for people. What is it that makes them feel valued, feel loved? For some people, it's words of affirmation, being affirmed. What is it that make them feel love? And if you want to show someone love, then you're going to learn what makes them feel love, and then it will be reciprocated in that way.
Right. So I think we can all agree, and if I'm hearing all of us correctly, we can agree that reciprocation is not necessarily in the action itself to a degree, but it is more about equal effort. And I love that, it doesn't have to be the actual object has to be the same, but we have to be putting in the same amount of effort into one
Right.
another. And then we will feel reciprocated. Not that I made you dinner tonight, you make me dinner tomorrow. I may have made you dinner tonight, and tomorrow I may send you to get a manicure, or, whatever it is. But it's that equal effort to serve one
Right.
another to make sure that everyone's needs are met. Am I
Right.
understanding us? Okay, all right. See, we moving now. We get to the last one. So we've talked about attitude, we've talked about support, we talked about competition, we talked about reciprocation. Now this last one here, um, ladies, I'm sorry, not sorry. We're gonna stir the pot for sure with this one with a really hard wooden spoon. And this is our last one of the night. And again, I hope you are enjoying this conversation. We just want to break through with some communication and open up dialogue on tonight. I want to read Sir Hale's comment. He said, same effort, same compassion, same thoughtfulness. Amen. Reciprocation is about the same amount of effort to meet each other's needs. I need to let you know that I see you, and I need to know that you see me. I don't have a problem with initiating personally. It's how you respond. It's how you respond. And even with reciprocation, at a certain point, we're responsible for ourselves. Like if I feel like you're not getting the message, then I have to make the personal decision as to whether I'm going to continue
Right.
in my efforts or not, or if I'm going to like pack it up and call it a day, in whatever way, make a gentle exit. Sometimes we have to do that. But this last point here, and men, when we do the men's cave, I want y'all to, be nice, act polite. Um, but this is a good one here because we're gonna have a men's show the same way we do it a men's panel because we want to hear from our men. Like I said, I realize that men are tired, y'all. They tired. Like plantation slave tired, and they feel like they have no voice, and we want to give them space to for their voices to be shared. So if there are any men out there that are listening and y'all want to be a part of the men's panel, you can hit me up, you can hit up Pastor Sheila, let us know, and we will get you in a slot to come and have good conversation. We want to open up understanding. That's why we're here. So this last one, ladies, after we fixed our attitude and after we've started supporting and after we've dispelled competition, and after we have met each other in reciprocation with equal efforts, one of the other things that I have heard, and this is true of us, is just like women, and I'm sorry, y'all, why can't we be quiet? Why? And I say it in the sense of, and I know, it stings, it does, it stings. But sometimes, ladies, you know, We have to learn to master the art of silence. And it doesn't mean that our objectives aren't important. It doesn't mean that our views aren't important. It doesn't mean that our opinions don't matter. But sometimes we have to learn how to be quiet because men don't want to be in it. I've come to understand kind of like men don't want to, they really don't want to fight with us. They really want peace. And women, we are emotion driven. So, let the man say the one thing that, kind of sets you off. I don't want to say triggered because we're gonna do a show about triggers. We're gonna do that one real soon. But um men will say one thing that'll kind of tap that bone and we go far left. We're like, okay, listen, listen, let me tell you something. And then, and we are going off, like far left, and we've gone down the road, off the cliff. We over talking him. We talking louder than him. We not even hearing him. We just going, and it is what it is. It is, I'm not saying everybody, but I will admit I'm one. I've been there. I've done it. And I know it's real touchy. And I'm not saying all men. It is this is not all inclusive, but there comes a time where women, because again, we are emotionally, like our emotions are wide open just to be tapped sometimes. But we have to learn how to rest and be quiet because sometimes we have to consider this. Do you want to be, is it more important that you are right, or is it more important that we get it right? Because we will grind a point into the ground sometimes. And I know this one is touchy. I know it is. I know it is. I know it is. I know it is. But and I'm not picking on us women. I just want us to absolutely have open and real dialogue. There are times when I have had to sit, how you got to sit on your hands sometimes. I've had to like put my mouth in my pocket because I'm like, I'm about to say something and go somewhere, and it's because something has been said that has tapped that nerve. But I've had to learn the art of being quiet, to listen through what I don't want to hear. Because sometimes it might be painful to me. I may not agree with it, but I still have to learn to listen. Um, and that's a hard place because, our men get very frustrated because they don't feel like they're heard. So I'm gonna leave it right there and let one of y'all jump in. I know I know, but I'm just saying we gotta learn. I know it's hard to go from there, but share how you feel about how we do you feel that we need to be quiet? That's it. Who is it? Sarita Jakes. Just today, I was watching a post that somebody put up, and she was talking about marriage vows and why people change the marriage vows because they don't want to honor them, so they made up their own vows. And I can't think of everything that she said, but she was like, they don't want to say that. They want to be like, when I saw you from across the meadow, on the moon at night, and blah blah blah. And she was in the midst of giving this beautiful soliloquy, and she was like, "Shut up!" And I hollered. I'm like, now Sarita Jackson sat up here and told y'all to shut up, people. What is happening? But sometimes we do. We have to learn to be quiet. So I'm gonna yield right there, and I'm gonna let y'all put in your your feelings on the matter of women learning to be
Now we all quiet.
right.
I am, Dawn will tell you, I am super quiet. I do not do the whole try to talk over, my man or any of that. As a matter of fact, when I am quiet, you should probably run because
Right.
that means that I've
That's
had
a
enough.
different quiet. That's
Yeah.
a different kind
And,
of quiet.
Dawn has told me that my quiet is eerie,
My
but
God.
I am not one for fussing, fighting, making a point, trying to talk over anyone. That's just not my style. Although I do know some of my sister girls are that way because they just got to have the last word. Um, you know, I I don't even know what to say to them to make them stop doing that. It's just something that's in them, and it just becomes a lot. It's a lot, and even women don't want to hear other women doing that.
Right.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's a lot, and I don't need to have feel like I have to have the last word because I know what I'm thinking.
That
So
part.
I don't even know where to begin with the women who go off on a tangent like that, and you try to get them. You know, I have a cousin who's like that, and you can be standing right next to her, tapping her on her shoulder, calling her
She'll feel
name.
it.
She gone. She's
Yeah, she
gone. So I don't even know how to, you know, pull her back in. And I'm like, we're in your ear, calling your name, and you're still not gonna be quiet. I don't know.
yeah.
You gotta render them unconscious. That's what happens. You gotta. That's where
Unconscious.
you gotta take it to the temple for a minute, and then just what you do right. You pull the plug when something don't work right. When your laptop ain't acting right and it won't go. What you do? You reset it right. I'm just saying. Y'all ain't hear that from me. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Before we go to Tanya, I just want to read some of the comments of the men and men. Okay, listen, I'm on the lady side. I just want us to get along better. That's all. I just want us to get along better. Because again, I'm a tight trigger. I am. So you say one thing, I'm like, hold up now. But all right, I'm gonna wait my turn. So my brother says, no, we don't. No, we don't want to argue. We are peace driven. We just need your ears, your heart, not always your thoughts. See, that's a little strong. That's a little. But I hear you. See, now he said something that 100%. Kind of, made me feel a little bit. But I hear. We hear you. We hear what you are saying, Donald. He also says we need you to chime in that sometimes we need to just vent. All right, so sometimes y'all just need to vent. So you just want us to listen. Blind guy, his wife, their life says men say they want peace, but that's an action word too. Hmm. They have to actually create peaceful space by being secure, by being secure. I'm sorry. Financially, physically, vocally, etc. Well, go ahead,
Say it.
blind guy.
Go ahead,
His
blind
wife.
guy.
I'm gonna say it again. Men say they want peace, okay, but that's an action word too. Get the men right, blind guy.
Answer them.
Hallelujah. They have to actually create a space. Come on, somebody say, create a space,
Create a
brethren.
peaceful space.
Create a space, a peaceful space. Hallelujah. By being security, financially, physically, and vocal. So it's two sides to it.
Mhm.
If you want us to be this way, this is what you have to do in order for us to be this way. Take it away, Tanya. I'm gonna leave it right there. I'm gonna drink my good Pepsi.
Yeah, I'm on the opposite end of that. I'm a vocal person. And you know, but in relationships, I'm not arguing. I don't anybody who has ever, I was married, dated me, I'm not arguing. That's just not what I'm doing. I'll get so quiet that I'll disappear. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not in for all of that. I That's draining to me. Even when people are in relationships where they're arguing or they do silent treatments when they're not speaking to each other for days and months. I can't operate in those type of spaces. I'm gonna let you say anything that you need to say. I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna become very quiet because I want to really process what you're saying, and then I might say, okay, let's kind of chat about this. Are you ready? So we can chat about it. Give you your space. I have my space, but that's not really. I don't do that. Where I'm talking over a man. I don't know. Like I said, I grew up in a two-family household. My mother wasn't talking over my father. They would say what they need to say. He's very vocal. She said what she needed to say when she needed to say it, but it was very respectful. So I'm not doing that. And I'm not, going to be in a space where, you know, I got to feel like I got to be aggressive with you. Then I don't need to be with you. If I'm feeling that you're trying to do that, because I remember dating a guy once, and it lasted for a couple of months, where I feel like he kept trying to um
Push
poke.
your buttons. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
And I was looking like, I don't like the way it's like and I remember there was time I would be quiet and he's like, "Did you hear what I said?" And I was like, "I did." And he's like, "Oh, because you didn't say anything." I said, "I know." So I said, "Yeah,
Right.
it's not gonna work." Because you're trying to
So
right.
I'm aware I didn't release my words.
I'm
Oh,
there, and that happened a couple of times, and I said, "Okay, so I'm not sure what type of healing he needs to do. I don't
Right.
know that. So
He
we're
gonna
gonna
do it without you.
do this with this." So but I agree with Elaine. Like people and I've been in spaces with people where, they're going off on the person that they're with, either married or dated, and it's comfortable for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember, being with somebody and saying, if we're gonna go out with them, we're gonna have to drive our own cars because I
Right.
can't do that. And,
Can't do it.
or it got to a point where it's like, yeah, I'm not gonna be able to go over there and do whatever.
Right. We're never going to their
I
house.
can't do that. I don't like
no.
that. I don't like the way that feels. It's uncomfortable, and I don't. So it's very difficult to sit in that. And I've had times where I'm grabbing the female, and I'm like holding their hand, like, let's take a walk because you're doing this right now. You're yelling at him.
Mm-hmm.
This is rough, and it's really hard to watch it. So yeah, I don't know where to go with that because it's really hard. And sometimes, you know, both people now are in a space that's so negative that
Mm-hmm.
there's nowhere to go. So it's hard to watch it.
True. So it sounds like we can all agree that that there is an issue with us women with our aggressive tones and responses, and that there is a need for us to find a way to silence ourselves so that we can first of all hear,
Mhm.
and second of all so that we can also be heard. Because like you, I shut down. I don't do that arguing thing. You'll be standing there talking to your whole self. Um, I might be sitting right next to you. My ex husband was similar to the person that you dated, um, where he would just do things at a certain time to see me react, like would try to get on my everlasting nerve. And I was like, first of all, sir, I have a whole young child, and kids will pluck a nerve that you don't even know is there. So I was trained for this, but coming from an adult, is different. And I'm like, why? What is the satisfaction? Like, you want to see me get upset because I'm the type who, like, it takes a lot to make me mad, you know. Well, it takes a lot to make me go off. And once I'm in that space, it's like, now you just got to let me ride until I'm on empty, which might be a while. Pretty much. I'm like, because I'm just going to give you every opportunity. I'm just saying, I give you every opportunity. My family knows. First thing I do, I start blinking. And we had a situation in church once where it was like that. I started blinking, and the person told, and my mother started rubbing my back. It had about 3 people, 4 people, no, it was about 5 people around me. I didn't know who was sitting behind me, but who was sitting behind me started praying because I could feel them praying through the chair. Okay, they wasn't touching, but I felt, because that's how pissed off I was. I was really mad. And my mother started rubbing my back. My sister started tapping my leg. My best friend was like, so the person said, "No, don't rub her shoulder. Don't help her." And my mother was like, "No, we trying to help you, because you don't understand what's about to happen to you."
No
You know,
idea.
mighty God. I was like, "Oh, she got one more," and we in church. I was like, I did not care, you know. But they're just spaces where we as women, we have to, and especially in our relationships, where we have to learn how to just bring it in, not be so quick to be like a tornado and just go off and just because what does it resolve? Do you want to be right, or do you want the resolution? We understand. And I feel like when people start yelling, it's because they feel like they're not being heard, and so we have to learn, like, you can be heard, without the volume.
Mhm.
But we all have to create that safe space, like with blind guy. his wife, their life said. But I feel like we all have to create that safe space for one another. And it doesn't mean that it's going to happen overnight, but we have to become mindful and really learn. But women, because we are so emotion driven, it don't take a whole lot. We quick triggers. I want to read these last few comments. Before we end on tonight, this has been great, great, great as always. Blind guy, his wife, their life says, I've been with my husband for 31 years. Well, you know what? Hallelujah. I feel God for you. I really do. That's a blessing. And married 23. All right now. I have brothers, I have a dad, I have uncles, friends. I'm just saying. Um, and also Blind guy, his wife, their life said, had everybody in the church saying, don't do it, Sophia. Don't. It was pretty much like, it was very much a color purple moment. Yes. But thanks be unto God, I'm better now. I'm better now. I've learned how to temper myself. I think I am. I think I'm better. Like I said, but you get me there, it's hard to come back. Um, but this has been a great conversation on tonight. We've touched on 5 topics, 5 spaces in the lives of us women. Oh, I'm sorry, there's one more comment by Piccoli61. If I'm saying that right, if I'm saying it wrong, I apologize. We need to be matched up with a same minded partner. Having an opposite partner can be a struggle. That is true. That is true. And I think in that, being matched up with a same minded partner, for me, just means that we have to have the same, I want to say the same end goal, in that we don't want to argue, we want to resolve. We don't want to break up, we want to fix it. For me, I'm just saying for me. And we're talking same minded because the way my mind works, I'm enough on my own. So, sometimes the opposite partner for me is good because it presents balance. But we do need to be with people who are likened unto us, who everybody's temperament is going to be different, but we are like minded in that we are not here to harm each other. We're here to help heal and we're here to help build one another. So I appreciate that comment and I agree with it. So, I want to thank everyone for joining us on tonight. I want to thank the Bravo panel, our third week in, my sister Tanya Bits, my girl Lady Tanya, and Queen Bee Elaine. As we discussed in the ladies' room on tonight, attitude, support, competition, reciprocation, and why can't we be quiet? Help us, God. Also, want to encourage you to like, subscribe, and share. Share, and share some more. Share this conversation out with people on your social media. Somebody needs to hear it somewhere. Everything may not be for everybody, but there's something in here for someone. And the goal is for us to encourage, empower, and inspire one another so that we can be the best that we can possibly be every day, that we are showing up as our best selves in every area, in every arena. I want to say, fellas, get ready because the men's edition of Thursday Night Bravo with Lady Dawn B is coming. I promise you it is. And we want to give you your space for your voices to be heard. So
Amen.
prepare yourselves, gentle folk. Okay. I want to say that always here at Bravo, our platform again is not to convict or to convince, but we're here to engage in dialogue that creates a safe space for us to share and brings understanding so that we can strengthen relationships of all kinds and mostly within ourselves. So I want to leave space for um, our they not guests no more, but our Bravo panel to a Thursday Night Bravo panel to give their final comments. I'm going to go to Lady Tanya first, and then I'm going to let Lady Elaine, and then I'm going to come behind and wrap it up.
I'm gonna stick beside my comment. Just let's lead with love. Let's
All
lead.
right,
I'm
Elaine.
just, I just really enjoyed the conversation tonight. All of the issues that we normally have, at least we got them out in the open. So I'm looking forward to the men's edition.
gonna be real good. It's gonna be real good. We might have to bring a therapist for the couch for them for that night because they don't get the chance to express like we do. Blind guy, his wife, their life says, "Bravo, ladies, beautiful job." SLW teacher says, "Awesome discussion." We always say, if you could just give a big bravo and salute to our Queen Bee, the Queen Bravo herself, Pastor Sheila, who so graciously yields me the captain's chair on Thursday
Yes.
nights to host. So I appreciate you, Auntie Bravo. I am your Thursday night host, Lady Dawn B, and I want to invite you to tune in next Thursday for more real talk that leads to real resolution. You never know what friends of mine are going to stop by, so grab your snack and let's chat. Be encouraged, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Blessings and have a great Thursday night.
Yay.